What's going on, everybody? It has been too long. In fact, I have not put anything up. And honestly, I think I should have I should be more consistent. Let me just call myself out real quick. However, I also was thinking another thing. If I was going to come back, then I need to come back swinging really hard. So I did some more thinking, and I came to the conclusion that what would benefit everybody the most right now in color grading is standardizing their process. So part of standardizing your process is having an output display transform that you trust. Now today I'm gonna go ahead and try and remove some of the fog and smoke and mirrors around this stuff, because this is really crucial because it impacts the final look of all of your footage. Having a signature look that's associated with you, or having a standardized process when it comes to working with clients, is really important. And part of that brand signature is that output display transform that you use. Now you're probably wondering what an output display transform is. If you've used DaVinci for a minute, you know that you have to use an input display transform to tell DaVinci what type of footage you're bringing into the software so it knows how to manipulate the colors. Back in the old days when film used to be, used a lot more prevalently, there used to be the way the film was treated and then how it was processed afterwards. Try and think of it like that. So you're shooting your footage, you're bringing it in, you're developing a digital image and trying to make it look as filmic as possible. But in order to do that, it has to be handled properly on the way out using an output display transform to default it to a Rec 709 container so it can go to broadcast, so it can be broadcasted from multiple different devices and rendered properly. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and stop wasting time and jump right into DaVinci Resolve so I can show you guys all of the cool stuff.
All right, we're back in DaVinci, everybody. So here, I have 4 different examples here, and we're going to build them out one by one. And these are all just ways of getting to Rec 709 using different routes. So let's start with the first one here. And just so you know, the color codes don't matter. It doesn't mean it sucks and it's going from bad to good. It's just so I can differentiate these, because I can get carried away real quick and forget what I'm looking at. With the very first one we have right here, I actually will show you guys that you can do this type of transform without using tools in DaVinci, and this will work in like Final Cut Pro and Premiere Pro, and that's how they've been doing it for a long time in order to do the color grading in those particular softwares. So what you'll do is, I actually have a Sony LUT from a gentleman right here that I downloaded off the website. He has a festival LUT that basically has the Rec 709 conversion as the LUT. This is how you get your footage to something usable with a snap of your fingers. It takes S-Log3 and it just brings it into Rec 709. Simple as that, real easy. Sony has a proprietary one on their website. There's also a third-party one that they provide through their third-party LUTs, I think. I will include different links in the description going to all of the assets that I am using right in front of you, so don't worry. So this is the very first example. And then with the second example, we're actually going to do the thing that I did in one of my other videos regarding input and output display transforms, just getting your footage to something usable using the tools within DaVinci Resolve. So you would go to a color space transform and you'd drag it over here. You'd tell DaVinci Resolve, actually we could just do this in OneNote if we're just going to default it to Rec 709. We could just go to S-Gamma 3 Cine, S-Log3, choose your camera settings, and then Rec 709 and Gamma 2.4. Simple as that. With the only caveat being you might want to use saturation compression for the gamut mapping. And all of this footage is not color balanced yet. So I want you guys to see the difference between all of these. These are all being defaulted to Rec 709 and you will get different results from all of these, okay? The next one is going to be a color space transform, because these DCTLs actually go from DaVinci Wide Gamut back into Rec 709 by default on their default settings. So I'm going to show you how they would look on their default settings. So we're going from S-Gamut 3 Cine to S-Log3 to DaVinci Wide Gamut. And then we're going to type DCTL in the OFX menu over here and just drag this in. And if you're not familiar with what a DCTL is, it's basically a line of code or a plugin that you can run on its own container, and you could just select from a list of all of the stuff you have right here. Like if you have a bunch of DCTLs, that's how it's going to look. But if you only have one or two, it's only going to be, the list is going to be way smaller. Let's just put it that way. So we're going to go with JP2499 DRT. And there you go. It goes from DaVinci Wide Gamut to Rec 709. And as you can see between all of these, we're getting different results when it comes to not only our colors, but our the way the luminance is being mapped on the way out. And before I go ahead and make comparisons to all of these, let's go to the very last one. So let's copy paste this over and then choose OpenDRT for our last one. And these all have different like ways of achieving the Rec 709 conversion. You could choose whichever way you'd like. But the caveat with the LUT version is that the LUT version goes straight from SLog to Rec 709. So any adjustments you'd like to make in DaVinci Wide Gamut, or if you have an ACES workflow, it doesn't really get along with those workflows if you're familiar with that. But if you would like to save a lot of time with color grading and not have to think about it too much, and you want to make your adjustments either before or after the conversion, this is probably the most simple way of doing it, just putting a LUT on. Now, Sony does have their proprietary one, and then this is actually one that I like from, says Alistair Chapman right here. His LUTs are in a pack on Sony's website. I'm going to be linking them in the description. I think this is a really cool reiteration of Rec 709, because Rec 709, all it is you just basically fitting all those colors and mapping the luminance so that it would fit into basically any display, like a phone, a TV, or a monitor. And the DNA of your entire grade is dependent on this conversion you're doing. Because if you're doing a workflow such as this and you're working in DaVinci Wide Gamut, you could see between JP2499 and OpenDRT, there are differences. And it gives you control on the way out as far as the density of the colors. You can even rotate the hues on JP2499, and you could change the purity of the colors as well. And then on OpenDRT, you actually have presets. So this is like a 2-in-1 combo right here. You're actually able to choose, let's just say Umbra, and then change the creative white point or the tone scale preset to whatever you'd like and get a feeling on the way out right off the bat. And that's really good because it takes a lot of the guesswork out. And as long as you balance your footage properly, you should be fine. Also, there is one cool caveat too to JP2499. There is another thing hiding over in the GitHub, I think the website is, and he has some look presets, some split toning presets just for this curve that you could put on the very end of this. And as you can see, it's like it's a two-step process, just like OpenDRT, and you could get a look that way. So you could take a look and see how all these looks kind of fare. And honestly, I would recommend that you download the LUTs yourself, put it on your footage, and use, DaVinci's transform, the LUTs transform, JP2499's transform, and OpenDRT's transform, and combine that, let's just say, with LUTs that you have that work in a Rec 709 workflow, for instance, and you'll never know what type of results you could get. I could even throw like lens distortions LUTs at the end of this. Let's see where my finishing LUTs are at. Throw something like this on the very end, and as simple as that. And I know this isn't a completed look, and it's subjective whether you like this. However, just look how quick we achieved that just by using OpenDRT, dialing in our tone scaling presets and our color presets, creative white point, slapping a LUT that's meant for a Rec 709 workflow on the very end of it, going to JP2499 and putting one of these split toning presets on the very end of it and achieving something special like this. Working within DaVinci's native tools and being able to make the conversion, as well as being able to just get a LUT and get something usable very, very quickly. I think that is super cool. I think we are getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere like technologically very interesting as far as these color grading workflows are concerned, because you can get a look really fast as long as you know what you're doing. And these open display transforms really do influence how your stuff looks on the way out. And most of the adjustments you do in color grading are going to be upstream of your pipeline, and the stuff at the very back end of your pipeline should be doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you when it comes to getting a usable look right off the bat. The only caveats that I will make you guys aware of is that JP2499 and OpenDRT, they have different input gammas you can put in. I'm just using DaVinci Wide Gamut because that is my preferred workflow. But if you read the list, you can actually go through and figure out if another workflow could possibly work with the actual transform. I'm just showing all of you guys this because obviously you have options. And one last, not tip, but something to be aware of on OpenDRT. If you hover over the presets, you will get this massive notepad list that just has notes about each and every different thing about the adjustments. So if you don't want to read any sort of literature online, you will just want to know nonsense, hey, this is what it does, description, it's right here. It's also on the look presets as well, and the creative white point. So with that all being said, I hope that helped somebody out there. I really hope this makes your life easier as far as understanding how this stuff works. And if you'd like to reach out to me personally, you could go to my Instagram, which is on my YouTube description, I believe. And you can also go to the comments and ask me anything. I try to stay on top of the comments. But until next time, guys, I will see you later.